Radha, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
We
How you
keep
been
meeting like
since?
this.
Huh?
I said we keep meeting like this.
I know. Well, it's now the theme of the film too, so I feel like you can't get away from this Zoom thing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. How are you doing?
Well, I've had better days. Just like start of the
Mhm.
year, I'm trying to put a show together, like a TV show. I have no idea how, and just dealing with like trademarks and editors and all these things. So it's like they threw me in a
Yeah.
deep end, and I'm trying to figure things out as we go.
Who's that in the background in the bikini?
That's Mandy Rose. So she's a professional wrestler for WWE.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I had it signed. So like I'm a big fan of hers, and I
Wow.
had the whole thing signed by her. So it's kind of like a cool monument now. I
Is she,
had it in my bedroom, Rada, as a
oh
single guy.
no, no, no. You can't do that. But
It
she's like
wasn't
your
working.
bodyguard, right? She's your bodyguard in the living room.
Yeah, pretty much, so it's like it adds to the aura of the background. There's more going on there than up here. So it's more interesting that way. But yeah, the bedroom thing didn't work out, so I had to be here.
Not good for your love life.
Well, it's not good, so either way it hasn't helped.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So here we are. So did you
Here
see
we
the
are.
film? Did you
What'd you
see
say?
it? Did you see the film?
I did. Yeah. Like everyone's love life is in shambles here, so
Yes.
I was blown away until the end credits. I thought you guys filmed this like post-COVID and just like did it, but I'm like, when I'm watching like the clips like post-COVID, how this movie came together, I'm like, oh my gosh, this was literally filmed during COVID, like at the height of it, as
Yeah.
the setting is. And I can't believe you guys pulled off a feature-length film with like a cell
Yeah.
phone and a computer. It's just unbelievable to me how that's like ingenious filmmaking right there.
Yeah. It is actually because she proposed the idea of as an experiment, and it was meant to
Mhm.
take like 3 days or something, and then it just kind of got longer, and then the process of it, I don't know, it took longer than that, and it became a thing that even when it was in the can,
Yeah.
she got the footage and she was like, wow, this is actually a film. So she put
Huh.
energy in and went through the process of editing with a really great editor, actually.
I'd imagine that would take a lot to piece this together when you guys are doing this individually, and then just make
Yeah.
it into a story and that fits and makes sense and it's, moves along.
Yeah, and so certain sequences were shot later, like the stuff in the in the art gallery. We
Oh
did
yeah,
that.
yeah, the in-person stuff, right?
It was like a year later or 2 years. I don't know when that was, but that was so that was interesting to kind of come back to it,
Uh-huh.
see everyone. Um,
Wow.
and we'd all been through a thing. It was kind of like reunion, I guess, because
Reunion in person finally, right? Since you guys
yeah,
are
yeah. And I knew Danny, but I'd never met Bob, so we all got to meet on that day, which was great. And the gallery story was something that was going on actually in Cecilia's world. So then there was
Oh
a real
wow.
gallery now, and the gallery wasn't destroyed, and there was a gallery, so there was a bit of
Interesting.
celebration about it, and it felt like a breath of fresh air and new times. And so yeah, we were basically like all the trauma recovery. It was a trauma recovery group. I'm kidding.
Yes. I mean, what do you do? And you guys shot what, it said something like in 20, was it 21 that it was shot?
I think it was 19. Yeah. Wasn't
Okay,
it?
so like right when it was, because I know there was like a month, it was like May, June. I'm like, this is all when this was fresh in you, when we didn't know
Yeah,
what was going on.
it was that. It was that time. And I don't know if you get that feeling in the story, but it was like,
Yeah.
everybody's hair is like, hasn't been colored. And, it's the real thing, and
No
Cecilia.
makeup artists, right? I mean, it's just,
Oh, no. It was shot on a phone. Cecilia was directing from her apartment or her house. She was like screaming at her partner, who was the person carrying the cell phone around. And so that was hilarious. Like the process of it. There was one film, one like FaceTime, what does it call it? iPad that was the direct communication, and one phone that was shooting. And that was it. And I think the conceit of it was to make it consistent, was to keep it very still frames,
Mm-hmm.
so that it didn't require, that there was a style to it and that it was, looked like conceived. But somehow she was able to pull that script out of, I don't know, her head.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, on the fly, pretty much. I was wondering too, did it feel like you're sort of self-taping yourself too, like an audition with the sort of monologues you're doing? No one's around, right? You're just kind of doing this to the camera. I mean, you're getting some feedback, hopefully, on the other end, but did
Yeah.
it feel almost like you're auditioning in a sense?
Well, it didn't feel like we were auditioning. It
Mhm.
felt like we were doing like a home invasion.
Plotting things out.
House. Yeah, no, because there was just her voice, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And there was like one or two people that were the crew. And they were all friends. So it was kind of like having like a little party at the house kind of thing during the crisis. And it was an opportunity to kind of laugh at what we were all experiencing and check in on how everybody was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I kept on wondering, like, how did Jonathan end up getting, Clarissa into him? He had the worst, like, video sex game possible, like, just like monotone and no emotion, really, not saying good content. Like, I'm like, how could he turn on a woman in this situation? Plus, he's got the whole thing going on at home. On the other end, why was she into him like that? I don't know why he was so appealing to her when he was just like, it's so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got it. Bob was just so sexy.
Must have been that.
That was a question, actually. It's kind
Oh,
of
really? Okay.
what is this relationship and why is this a thing?
I'm sure she could do better. I mean, Clarissa has got the look. She seems very vibrant and smart. Like, doesn't
Yeah.
need to be in this situation.
Well, that's the question. I guess a lot of people get in these weird, funky situations, don't they? And everybody else
Yeah.
is, what are you doing? But also, I think when you've got the context of a global pandemic and you can't go out,
Yeah.
you hold on to what's there, I guess. And I think the movie in the end is about sort of sitting with what is and sitting with who is there. And, Clarissa ends up with the dude out the back for a minute, and then he ends up with his wife, who he hasn't really seen because he's been in his own head for
Yeah.
so long. She, for some reason, still likes him, and
Didn't understand that either. So nice to him, It makes me feel worse about my dating life. I'm like, I'm trying here. I'm putting effort. This guy's got two women pining over him, and he's not giving his full attention to either.
Well, I was always a bit like, you're supposed to be a feminist filmmaker, Cecilia. What is this? But then I thought, oh, yeah, she's Italian, and they have this kind of old school way of looking at things.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But anyway, I think she was having a bit of fun with this idea of misogyny, and maybe she was taking the piss out of it. I don't know, but a little bit of that. But certainly, yeah, what was redeeming? I think the way that could possibly work was just that Bob is funny, and Bob makes it work, is all I can say about that.
I guess so. Yeah. Jonathan, not so much. Bob, I could see. But a very interesting look. It was an interesting dynamic. I felt all those relationships, you know what? It felt real because I mean, I'm like, dating is messy in every way you put it, and relationships are complicated. They're not, straightforward in so many ways. And you see people kind of here, weighing the good and the bad of being with someone, right? In a sense, and you go through this process, and it's like, it's sometimes it's settling, maybe other times it's like, well, I'm not going to go for something that you think might be better, but it's not really out there. It's an interesting study into how we kind of form relationships, right?
Yeah, well, I think it was very much, her point was, be with the reality that you're in, or love the one you're with, I guess, really, basically, and appreciate, the things that are there with you, whatever they are, your home, your house, your life. Basically, this is your life, so you better celebrate it.
Yeah. And it's like, with today's dating world, it's all like so much of it, it's so online and digital and all that. And it's like
Yeah.
people always think about, oh, the next swipe is going to be better. The grass is always greener on the other side. And yet they're 3 years later still swiping, so it's like
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not that idea that you have in your mind.
Yeah. And again, too, maybe it's the person that you see every day. That's the one. Maybe they're not going to be the chick in the back row, the fighter lady by the couch.
Uh-huh.
Might not have all those qualities. But the being present with what is, and the intimacy of that, I mean, that's kind of what it's about.
No question. Yeah, it's an interesting watch for sure. Like not only how this film was made, but just like kind of highlights interesting factors about how we date and form relationships too. And how in this case the pandemic affected these things too. So it's crazy out there. I guess if you're single, no matter what, there's heartbreak all around the corner, and there's potentially love too.
It's heartbreak at every coffee break.
Yeah, that's right. Well said.
In every incidental exchange, there's a possible heartbreak.
And you gotta be willing to put in that, like put the heartbreak on the line in order to find something good too. People just always, I hear like, oh, I don't want to open up, I don't want to do this, but like, well, you got to risk one thing to get the good thing.
Yeah, well, I guess kind of maybe the message of the story is you can't be in a fantasy, because that's never going to be rewarding as much as there's an escapist aspect to that. Well, certainly for Claudia, she's got this fantasy love life going on, and by the end, she's able to let that go, and without resentment, I think. And he also had this fantasy love life, and in the end, he's able to kind of stop escaping the stress of his own existence and really appreciate the great things that he has in his life. And also Danny's character, who's like waffling on about his ideal relationship and not even respecting and appreciating the woman that he's with, is ultimately able to see how fragile things are and bring his attention back to what matters as well.
No question. I was thinking about you too recently, the fact like I feel like we're now there's a superhero phase, and now we're in a phase of like video game to movies and shows. I'm like, you were kind of the original that did this a while ago with Silent Hill, and now it's like a boom. Like there's everywhere you look, there's a video game turned movie now happening. Have you caught yourself thinking like, wow, was I in a different time frame that I did it, or I kind of did this before it became a thing? Because I thought of you about that.
Well, you know what? I feel like I'm always trying to do something that I haven't seen already. So that does create, it is a bit of like a trailblazing quality to want to do.
Yeah.
And culture often takes a while to catch up to things that are new, because people are more invested in things they know are going to work. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't think
you're ahead of the game. I feel like you pioneered the movement now that's it's exploding currently.
There were a few going on, but I mean, I think also the cultural appetite for video games has increased.
True.
Love video games in a way they maybe didn't before. But I think now the situation is that you want to get off screens and you want to do things more raw, like say even this thing. It's like and you want to emancipate the project from the monster of the machine, have individual voices and be very like raw and basic.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting to me. And I kind of like that about this project.
Yeah, no question. I like that. I like that independent sort of film still alive, and you can do these sort of true to life things that are relatable in a way. Like, these people are relatable. Like I know someone like that, or I can envision them, in real life. Like
it could be any kind of voice, but basically the inspiration is that this movie was shot with initially like no financing and a cell phone. So, whatever kind of frustrated filmmaker you are, pull your head out of your ass and go do something.
There you go. That's right. You won't know until you do it.
Yeah, it's possible, I guess, what I'm saying. Yeah.
No question. This is so fun catching up with you. You know, too bad I didn't get to see you, but I saw you not
No,
too
good.
long ago too. So it's good that we do our annual catch up, I guess.
Yeah, well, you look great. So good to see you again.
Oh,
And
thanks.
take
That's
care.
reassuring.
Yeah. All right.
Coming from you, I'll take that. Okay, so
Okay.
much appreciate it.
All
Well,
right.
hey, keep on doing the good stuff. So we always have something to talk about. I know there's one around the corner from you all the time. So I'll be on the lookout.
All right. Thanks a lot. See you
Thanks,
later.
Radha.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.